I own 153 Section 8 rentals, generating close to $200,000 a month in guaranteed rents every single month. And as a Section 8 investor, one of the most important decisions you're going to end up making is choosing the right location to be invested in. And if you do choose wrong, you're going to be stuck with negative cash flow and vacant properties. Choose right and you'll have tenants lined up and guaranteed cash flow coming into your bank account every single month. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how I pick winning locations for Section 8 rental properties, including the exact websites I use, the data that I analyze, and the red flags that you need to avoid. Now let's get into exactly why choosing a location is way more important than just finding a singular deal. A lot of novice investors will jump into real estate or Section 8 considering a good deal rather than figuring out whether or not the location is feasible to be able to scale. But keep in mind, a good deal in a terrible location is a terrible investment. Now for me, a good location determines how much a Section 8 tenant will pay, how many tenants are available in that given area, how quickly you could fill vacancies with these properties, how easy it is to evict these tenants if anything happens, how much supply is in that given location for me to scale, and what my end cash flow is going to look like month over month. And trust me, as an investor that's been doing this for over 6 years, I've seen other investors lose their properties by buying in the wrong location. Now for me, getting the right location can mean getting 10 to 30% higher rents from Section 8. It can mean having tens of tenants lined up to rent your property. It could mean having a 5-day eviction process versus having a 6 to 8 month eviction process. And it can mean increasing cash flow every month while having that steady appreciation year over year. And that's why I spend more time researching specific location rather than specific properties. Now, one of the first metrics I end up looking at is the price to rent ratio when choosing a location. And to calculate this, you want to take the purchase price divided by the annual rent amount for that property. Lower ratios mean you're going to have better cash flow and more affordability for those properties, and higher ratios are going to mean lower cash flow and a higher barrier to entry to even buy your first deal. Now, me specifically, I target locations with price to rent ratios below a 10. For example, if you find a $75,000 house in Ohio that rents for $1,300 a month, which is about $15,600 per year, your price to rent ratio is going to be 4.8, which is below a 10, which means that is a great ratio for this specific property in this area. Now, let's go ahead and compare this to California. A $500,000 house in California that rents for $2,500 a month, which is $30,000 a year annually, which would come out to 16.7, which is terrible in terms of cash flow. And that would make the ratio above a 10, which is not viable for my business model. Now, the best ratios in the location you're going to be able to find properties under $100,000 are going to be these. Generally, the Midwest and the Southeast. When we're speaking about the Midwest, we're considering Ohio and Indiana. In Ohio, I would target cities like Cleveland, Akron, Dayton, and Toledo. In Indiana, you could look at Indianapolis. And for the Southeast, I would target Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. For Alabama, you could look at Birmingham and Montgomery. For Mississippi, you could look at Jackson. And for Louisiana, you could look at Shreveport, Lafayette, or even Baton Rouge. And you definitely want to avoid locations with ratios above 15, like California, Washington, New York, and most major coastal cities. Now, another huge factor to determining a location is going to be verifying tenant demand. Keep in mind, high fair market rents from Section 8 don't matter if there are no tenants to rent that specific property. So now, how do you actually verify whether or not there's going to be Section 8 tenants? What you want to do is call the local housing authority that you plan on investing in and ask them how many outstanding vouchers they have in that given county. This is going to tell you exactly how many Section 8 tenants are waiting to rent a specific house in that given area. And for me, I only invest in areas that have a minimum of 100 outstanding vouchers. This ensures that I can rent the property within 45 days and I don't have to wait months and months to be able to get my first tenant in there and generate cash flow. In addition to that, it also gives me leverage to be selective with my tenants. That way I don't have to go with the first person that approaches me. The next thing you could do is ask about the Section 8 waiting list. What you could do is you can call the local housing authority once again and ask them how long the Section 8 waiting list is going to be in that specific county. Now, for the most part throughout the US, most waiting lists are going to be relatively long. But if the waiting lists are above 10 years long, that just tells you once you have a Section 8 tenant, they're not going to risk getting kicked off of the program because they just waited 10 years to actually become a Section 8 tenant. For example, you can call the local housing authority and tell them, I just purchased a property in this county and I'm looking to become a Section 8 landlord here, but what I want to know is how many outstanding vouchers you guys have in this current area. You could ask them what the current waiting list looks like for new tenants, and you can additionally ask them if they're giving any sign-on bonuses for any new landlords. months. What a lot of housing authorities will do to incentivize landlords is they'll give a sign-on bonus anywhere from $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to rent your first property to a Section 8 tenant. Another crucial factor when choosing a location is looking at landlord-friendly versus tenant-friendly states. This is very, very important, honestly quite overlooked. With landlord-friendly states, you're generally able to evict a tenant within 5 to 30 days because they favor the landlord. A lot of the lease terms do get enforced very effectively with the courthouse, and you can even collect damages for properties if the tenants cause any kind of harm. Now, if you consider that versus tenant-friendly states, it's a whole different story. With tenant-friendly states, it takes anywhere from 6 months plus, and it's nearly impossible to evict a tenant. The state makes it extremely difficult to enforce anything that's even drawn up on the lease, and you're pretty much not able to collect any damages if they cause problems within your property. Now, when considering landlord-friendly states with Section 8 investing, you want to look at Ohio, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, and Indiana. Sometimes you can even find properties in Florida under $100,000. Now, some of the states to avoid at all costs are going to be pretty obvious, like California, Oregon, New York, Washington, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. For example, if you consider Ohio, you could evict a non-paying tenant quite literally within 5 days and get the entire process done within 2 weeks. Meanwhile, I know landlords in California that do the same exact process, but they have to wait 6, 8, 12, and sometimes even over a year to go through that process. Now, if you're brand new to Section 8 investing or an existing Section 8 investor and you want to scale and take it to the next level, I have something for you. I've been mentoring people like Alex in Jacksonville, Florida that now has 14 properties, cash flowing him $9,300 every single month. Or Daniel, who has 24 properties, cash flowing him every single month in Ohio and Indiana, who walked through my entire mentorship process. Or Ryan, who has 13 Section 8 rentals in Jackson, Mississippi, generating him over $8,000 a month in guaranteed passive income every single month. And if you'd like to be the next success story and you want to learn about my private Section 8 mentorship, click the link down below to apply to book a call with me or my team to get started with our process.